This is Steven Diego, and you're tuned in to Breaking Down the Breakdown. On today's episode, we are going to talk about feeling worthless. Hello, everybody. Honestly, today's episode is going to hit me hard, only because this is something that I've been feeling lately. And actually, I feel this constantly. I love how I didn't even do my normal intro. Sorry. Welcome. This is Steven Diego. I mean, I did the intro, but hi guys. Welcome in for another edition of Breaking Down the Breakdown. For those of you who are watching, I made sure that my bed was a mess, because I wanted to show you guys. It's kind of like a prop, it's like a scene. I'll explain it after if I don't forget. So you know what? I'll explain it now. Honestly, I was having one of my bouts of, imposter syndromes where I'm like, I shouldn't be talking about things. I shouldn't be filming a podcast right now because I am a mess. But you know what? Gotta push through, and that's what we're doing. I was like, you know what? I want to show everybody how vulnerable it can get. But we're fucking doing it. Anyways, for those of you who are listening, well, you can keep on pretending I'm fine. But today's episode, as I was saying earlier, is, I don't want to say special to me. When I say special, I feel like that has to be like a good thing. But we're talking about worthlessness. It's such a weird word, but it's also really common. You know what I'm saying? It's like a lot of people feel like they're worthless. And it's something that people kind of joke about, as we do. Some of us have a really dark sense of humor, but it's very important to talk about these things because there are a lot of people fighting a really silent battle. And I've been on a lot of mental health forums lately, especially the Filipino ones, and it's been very sad going through some posts and being able to read it and kind of see what people are going through and what they're talking about. And it's always a constant thing, and this is why I wanted to talk about this today, is a lot of people feel like they don't deserve to live. A lot of people feel like they're worthless and they're just taking up space in this world. And that resonated with me because recently that's actually how I've been feeling. I think it's pretty wild because I've been keeping myself busy. This podcast, with my music, I'm back to streaming, I'm doing my other things on the side there, but for some reason, it always brings me back to feeling really empty. Almost like nothing I do makes me happy anymore. And there could be a lot of reasons as to why I feel this way, right? But ultimately, what it brings me to is I feel like I don't deserve any of the success. I just don't feel worthy of anything. As of lately, I don't feel worthy of anybody's attention. That's the number one thing I want to talk about. Kind of like with the anxious attachment styles, I see this kind of topic most likely making a comeback on different episodes because there's just a lot of ways you can feel worthless. I love how I'm talking about this oh my god guys, don't worry, there's so many ways to feel worthless, everyone's included. No, but all kidding aside, for me, I think one of the most heartbreaking thing and one of the saddest things for me to go through is when I start to feel like I'm not good enough for anyone. And I know that there are a lot of us out here who feel the same way. And that could be attributed to past traumas or events, right? anytime something goes wrong in a relationship, it's always our fault, right? And I want you guys to kind of take a step back and look at your past. If you are one of these people, kind of like me, in which, relationships fail because it's our fault, how many times did we try to pin the blame on the other person and play the victim? And I don't mean this in a malicious way, because I don't think any of us have the time to actually sit here and say, oh, I know I fucked up, but you know what I'm going to do instead? I'm going to blame that other person for this. That's not a thing, right? Like, maybe for some people, honestly, yeah, I've experienced some people, luckily for me, I never dated them, but I know situations like that because I know them, and I'm sitting there like, damn, like, where do you get the energy to do this? But how many of us actually fail to see sometimes that the situations are our fault, right? That we are the problem, that we have caused a rift in relationships, that we are the ones to blame for something not working out. And how many of us took years to realize this? I'm going to say this right now, personally, right? Personally, it's my defense mechanism to not want to own up to anything, because I am so afraid of being wrong when it comes to love, when it comes to relationships, because I've always viewed myself as someone who, who has a big heart, as somebody who, I love people easily, and I can't seem to fathom, I can't seem to think of myself as someone who is capable of other things. And I really believe that this sense of delusion that I have when it comes to this, right? Like, it's like a false sense of security almost. Like, I lie to myself enough that I start believing that things are not my fault. And because of that, I fail to own up to things. And sometimes all it takes to fix a relationship, all it takes to, fix communications even, is to just own up to things. But the ego gets in the way. The pride gets in the way, right? That has been the downfall of my relationships. It's always been me realizing too late. And because of this, it's put me on this trajectory of I'm never going to be loved by anyone because I'm not capable of holding on to love. People are not capable of loving me because I'm hard to love. And there's layers to it, right? That's just one part of it. But if you pull it back, right, like an onion, you peel it back and you start to think of all these other negative things about yourself. And that's how I felt, right? It starts with, I can't be loved. And then there's a why. And then I list all of my mistakes. And it goes on and on and on and on to the point where I stop being kind to myself. And I start to believe that I'm not worthy of being loved. Because while nobody's perfect, I've ended up believing that whoever falls in love with me or I fall in love with, I'm just going to hurt anyway in the long run. Either that or they're going to get so bored of me it's very interesting because for a lot of people, the solution is to open up the relationship. And I actually don't have anything against open relationships, right? Actually, let me just kind of dial it back. I don't have anything against it, right? I just wouldn't partake in it. I wouldn't mind being in a relationship where, you know, my partner gets to play around with other people if that's going to spice things up. Weird, I know. That doesn't mean I'm going to do it. I'm the kind of person where, you know, I'm very monogamous and, you know, I fall for one person, I fall for that person, right? But I have no problems with, you know, I just don't want to be in the room. Like, I can't do threesomes. Like, I just, no, I can't. I just don't, like, tell me about it. I just don't want to see visuals. Like, I just, whatever, right? But not everyone is like that. And especially in the LGBT world, right? Like, it's very common. It's common practice to have an open relationship. For me, right, it's just that it's a dynamic that I can't replicate with other people. So I'm talking about this because for a lot of us and a lot of people who are in monogamous relationships, when people start to cheat, when people start to stray, people break up because they don't want to be with that person anymore for XYZ reasons, they feel like they're not good enough. They feel like they're always being left for somebody else. They're too boring. They're too this. Sometimes they're too much or not enough. Any way you look at it, you end up feeling like you're not worth it. You're not worthy of love. And I find it very interesting because the people who always feel that way are the ones who crave love the most. You will see a lot of people who will say, fuck love, I don't really give a fuck about love. I'll be single for life, I'm happy. And, you know, good for them. But you will also meet people who will never talk about that. Because they know it's the one thing that's so hard for them to attain. And it reflects on their personality, right? The moment they have it, they feel like they can't let it go. They have to just strangle it, right? They hold on so tight. Sounds like me. And they don't realize that they are the ones that's putting that relationship in a chokehold. Duh. Right? And at the end of it, things happen because they get too controlling, too emotional. And then there goes another case of being left behind. They are the weapons in their own mass destruction. And that's hard to admit. That's hard to realize. Because imagine realizing that. Then you really start to feel like you're not worthy. Because not only did you mess up, but you have inadvertently hurt others. But that's where the spiral happens. And we cannot let that happen anymore. That is so unfair to us. And to your former partners, to your former friends, could be family members you have falling out with, that you become like this, it doesn't matter. It is so unfair. But mostly to us. In doing so, we have undermined every positive and really great things that we have achieved in our lives. All because we messed up. Nobody's perfect. And hammering it down into your brain that you're a fuck up is not going to help. I do want to speak about other situations in which other people might be hammering it down to people. That is a very common thing in the Philippines, I find. Maybe everywhere else as well. I get to say Philippines because I grew up there and I've seen it happen, and it's still happening in these forums, right? Parents grew up in a whole different generation than us, right? They never got any help for whatever they went through with their parents, and so they take it out on the kids because they don't know any better, right? But sometimes, more often than not, it's your family who makes you feel worthless, who makes you feel like you don't deserve anything in this life. Because nothing is ever good enough for them. And it's a common trope, right? It's in movies, it's in shows. You don't have to be Asian to feel that way. But what they don't show a lot of the times, because they say when you watch it in shows or movies, they sensationalize it. And they, like you turn into a villain, or like you start hurting other people, because that is a thing, right? But barely do they showcase people who have internalized this and tried to live. They tried to live by the standards of other people, and standards that they cannot ever meet. And all they ever want is to feel like, their parents love them and are proud of them, right? And that will never happen, because you can't. Why? Because most of the time, your parents want you to do what they couldn't. And let me tell you something right now. Nowadays, that's fucking hard, especially with inflation. It could be money related. It could be anything. But with the way the world is now, it's a different world, right? It's almost like they're setting you up for failure. I'm not saying go hate your parents, right? That's not it. Remember what I said. I said they grew up in a different time. They don't have mental health, discussions, or they don't have anyone helping them with that, right? It is up to us to change our fate. It is up to us to change the way we see ourselves, the way we look at ourselves, because we are worth so much more than what we have led ourselves to believe. Because, bitch, we fucking let ourselves to believe that we're not worthy of anything at all because of all of our mistakes. It's a dangerous path to go on. I've met so many people who, because they feel like they don't deserve to be here, to be around people, or to have anything good, anytime something good happens, they attribute it to luck. Not their hard work. Not due to the fact that, they actually deserve it. Not just because of the hard work, but because of, sometimes it's situational in the sense that you end up getting good things because you're a great person. Right? Like you get a job because of your connections, right? And it's not just any connection, it's because they know you well and they can speak for you. But instead of recognizing that it's your talent, that it's you who ultimately got you that connection, the sun is hitting me so hard right now. It's about to be golden hour. For those of you who are listening, I'm so sorry. I got distracted because it got super shiny on the video. But you did that. But you'll never be able to appreciate all of the good things you have going on for yourself because you've lived your life feeling worthless. Because maybe you told yourself that, maybe other people told you that, your parents, your quote-unquote friends, your teachers. It's a fucked up world we live in. Let's not make our inner worlds also fucked up. I mean, let's be honest, it already is. But, we have the tools and the power to change that. And these are things that you're not really going to hear every day. Because when you try to relate to other people, right? you end up finding a group of really fucked up individuals together, complaining about their lives. In some ways, it feels nice. And I hate to say that, but in some ways, it feels really nice to know that other people feel as worthless as I do. There's a sense of camaraderie that gets formed because you bond over things that you feel like you're fucking up together, individually. Use that as a gateway to help each other realize that you're not only bonding over your traumas. Because believe me, oh, God, believe me, when I used to have mental health streams, right? When I used to have mental health days on streams, there would be people who would come in and would trauma dump. And I allowed that to happen because there were certain people who would come in and whenever they finished trauma dumping, they were there for each other. They were there for the community still. And when I saw glimpses of that, I thought it was beautiful. But there are some people who will hijack that and turn it into a me, it's about me show, right? You can use that situation. You can use that setting when you finally find people who are just like you to help each other understand that you found each other not just because of your traumas. You still get along with each other because you see the greatness in each and every single one of you. And you might not be able to see it for yourself yet, within yourself, but these people can. And I feel like that is the number one thing when it comes to coming out of this whole feeling worthless, right? When you start to really be mindful about what people say about you, people will not go out of their way to say something nice about you. Believe me. Because it's not going to benefit them, right? You have to start believing when people say good things about you. And they're not asking for money. You know what I mean? Like, you have to start understanding, why is it that people say so many nice things about you, yet you want to counter that and say, no, I don't deserve that compliment. And then in your head, you start bringing up all of your past traumas and all of your past problems that led you here. And I'm not saying that's not valid. Of course it's valid. But look at what it's doing to you. This episode is a call for help. I am doing this episode because there are too many people online that I'm seeing that are not able to get the help that they deserve. Because they always end their posts with, what's the point? My life is going to be the same after this anyway because I live at home. My life is going to be the same after this anyway because I hate my job and I have to do it. My life is it's so heartbreaking to see great people go through something so dark and they have to feel like they're alone. It's so cliched, you know, I always say you're not alone, but you're really not. I have been through a period in my life where I felt so worthless because, and this is going to sound so silly, but because the people that I wanted attention from, the people that I wanted validation from, did not want to be around me anymore. And I went through this dark period where I really fucking thought I was by myself. And in that moment, like I was so blind because I never realized how many people were rooting for me. But I would always just ignore their messages because they weren't the ones I wanted to talk to. They weren't the company I wanted to keep. I wasn't able to appreciate the love that was being given to me. And maybe some of you are like that. I'm not shaming you if you're like that. I'm just saying, start to pay attention to the people around you. And I will say this, because I've met at least a couple of people who have been through this, where they're actually alone and they have no one. But they chose to do that, right? Not voluntarily, but because of everything they've internalized. Kind of like what I was going through. But, I realized it and then I was like, okay, I got to break out of that. Unfortunately, for some people, they keep on going down this path and they are convinced that because they don't deserve anything, they're not worthy of other people, it kind of goes a complete 180 in the sense that they start to feel like they can be alone forever and that's fine, but it's eating them up inside. If you are one of these people and you're listening to this, I gotta let you know, you have made it this far because you are brilliant. For you to make it this far on your own proves otherwise. You are worth everything in this world. You are worthy of being loved. People would be people would be grateful to have you in their circle. It's our inner demons trying to convince us that we don't deserve to live. Why do you think it hurts sometimes? Even though we claim that we're so numb from the pain. It's because we try to numb ourselves so we don't feel the pain anymore, right? Because we think there's no help there for us. We think that people will never understand us. But that's all a lie. We have to set our egos aside and really, really think about this. And this is speaking for people like me. There are some of you who this is not fueled by ego at all. It's fueled by abuse, constant criticisms, constant failures. I'm part of that. Maybe you have a mental health disorder you don't know about. Maybe you have depression and you didn't know it, right? It's hard. This is why I want to talk about this topic more than once, because I feel like we're only scratching the surface now. I can sit here for 30 minutes telling you you're worth it, but you're not going to believe me. But I hope that the tidbits of examples of things that I've been through and I've seen and I've noticed, I hope that stays with you. Because you are worth it. Relationship-wise, maybe they're just not right for you. You have to stop blaming yourself. That gets you nowhere. If you really are the problem, be proactive. Journal. I'm serious. Start writing things down for yourself so that you don't keep on making the same mistakes. If this is not relationship related, if this is criticism from your family members, remember, you can always choose your own family. It's kind of hard in the Philippines, in Asia, when you live in the same roof. But don't forget what COVID taught us, or that era of COVID, when everything was online and we were able to forge, strong, genuine bonds with people online. We have to find these small pockets of joy, right? These small pockets that brings us joy. That's what's going to help us get through this. I am out of time. I feel like I haven't even been able to say really, so many things that I want to say, but I feel like I'm just so passionate about this because that's how I feel right now. And this is kind of like a message to myself. Look at me using my own podcast to help myself get through things. Recently, I feel like I keep on fucking things up over and over and over again with everything in my life. And just a few days ago, I had a thought that maybe I don't deserve to be here. I'm wasting resources. The people that are closest to me, maybe I'm bringing them down. And I asked myself, if that were the truth, why do they keep on being around me? And that's when it clicked. I'm bringing myself down. And I need to stop the spiral before it's too late. Because I don't want to keep on missing out on the great things that life has to offer me right now. And that goes for y'all too. We're in this together. Ew. Cheesy. Gross. But we are. So remember, if you ever need anyone to talk to, find me on Instagram. Breaking Down the Breakdown Pod on Instagram. Email me, breakingdownthebreakdown@outlook.com. This has been real, y'all. And hopefully the next time I talk to you guys, a lot of you are feeling more like yourself. I don't want to say better. I feel like when you say I hope you're feeling better, it's kind of wild. Even though I say it most times, but I start to realize, I hope you're feeling more capable. I hope you're feeling like you can solve things now. I hope you're feeling like you can be there for other people as well at this point. I think that's a true testament of really being yourself again. This has been Breaking Down the Breakdown. This is Steven Diego. I love y'all. Please be kind. Be compassionate. You never know what a person's going through. And I'll see you guys soon. Ta-ta for now. Bye.